change and there would be normalcy. So pandemic may be to take charge of our life stories, our narratives, and to have spiritual realization is one of the vital steps to have a step, to move a step forward in this journey. In fact, imbibing in spiritual values help to build inner reserves to weather the storm. They help to lend strength and cheer during moments of crisis. It also helps to bring about the necessity of looking beyond my own self. The thought of the self increases fear and insecurity, and thereby it essentiates the individual to have a control over one's negative emotions, negative thoughts that tend to grab oneself and instead broaden the self by profiteering, by providing an offering stance to others. Spiritual values also help to bathe the mind in one's positivity, in the warm facade of affection and consideration. One also needs to be grateful for all the kinds of blessings that we are endowed with. For this, there have been different realizational folds that have been offered by the pandemic. The very first that I would say is the understanding that nature reigns supreme. Human beings need to bow down before nature and to understand how to coexist, how to cohabit the space with the other species peacefully, not by providing a sense of dominance, not by proving one's superiority in the earth, but to live life peacefully in a symbiotic manner with other species. The second important point is that life is essentially meaningful and it has a purpose. So each and every one of us, we need to be grateful for it. Life also needs to be adorned by self-control, self-disciplining, and basic cleanliness, not only of the physics, but also of the psyche. One has to say a big no to impulsiveness of all kinds. So thereby, immediate gratifications of needs is not the call of the day. Instead, we need to have controlled behavior. We need to self-discipline ourselves in terms of our thoughts, in terms of our feelings, and automatically that would bring about self-disciplining of the entire system, the organismic system. Nature connect of human beings is I feel it needs to be one of the basic steps to have to be in this condition where we need to be aware of the deep connectedness of human beings with nature. We also need to know that we have done enough damages to the world around us, maybe in the form of deforestation, destruction of the tides, in the form of increasing pollution, increasing use of plastics, and so on and so forth. But this is the time to be aware, because this pandemic serves as a wake-up call in the form of maybe a cosmic fury, and we need to develop environmentally more responsible, nature-friendly attitudes. Okay? Now, even during the pandemic situation also, Nature has served as a friend and philosopher. It has tried to guide human beings. How can we find the guidance of nature? If we inculcate mindful awareness with nature. If we can develop our learning how to look at nature, look at life around, look at the environment around, and be attentive to different stimuli like bird songs, maybe even the industriousness of ants, the green gold sway of leaves of the trees, and so on and so forth. Thus, an individual becomes mindfully aware of nature and tries to understand the connect of oneself with the environment. Nature also pinpoints us with different lessons. It has offered different lessons like the very fact that humanity has disturbed ecological balance is being pinpointed by nature, and at this time to transform our attitudes, transform our perspectives in interacting surroundings in our locality, in our neighborhood. In fact, humanity needs to be essentially in harmony with nature. The sound of nature may be regarded as the purest form of art. It is not only aesthetically attractive to hear the chirping of birds or different animals, the sounds of different animals, but one becomes aware of the environment and develops curiosity regarding different life mysteries. According to Professor Jeff Titton, who is a professor of music in Brown University, it is learning to nature which makes us realize that we are part and parcel of its ecological world. Listening will help. This listening is not the outer listening, but the inner listening. It provides a world of connection and not of distance. In fact, if we listen carefully, if we listen having an inner ear, we would find that there is a commonality as far as acoustic space is concerned, where all living creatures share a common acoustic pedestal. David Rothenberg of the New Jersey Institute of Technology says that each species has its very unique aesthetic universe, and it is when these universes meet that they provide a magical space which is momentary but very powerful. It is therapeutic and healing in nature. For instance, watching and listening to birds involves making one to be mindfully aware of nature. It brings oneself to nourish one's mental well-being and helps one to connect with the cosmos. Learning to listen, as I was saying, it helps the person, the human being, to get connected with nature's rich layered sounds. Learning to see. We often have different visuals in our surroundings, but we need to be attentive. And in fact, I feel that the lockdown situation has provided us ample opportunity not only to see our surroundings, surroundings mindfully, but also to suspected manner, which is the call of the day. Professor Richardson of University of Derby says that there are a number of benefits of human nature interactions. It not only uplifts physical and mental health, but also brings about eudaimonic well-being and decreases overeats. So nature and the well-being of nature is not is inseparable from the well-being of human beings because they are interconnected in themselves. So we have to activate these nature, nurture, connected pathways, okay? And this can be done through stimulating our neural networks. And once we become mindfully aware of learning how to see our world around us, how to pay attention to the acoustic cues around us, it will automatically elicit positive emotions like happiness, like joy. It generates meanings of different kinds, which are crucial for sustainable and meaningful living. And it also helps an individual to celebrate beauty of nature. In fact, sounds of nature helps us to be aware of this togetherness of human beings with other species, the intricate bond that is shared by human beings with life. But if by any condition, under any circumstance, if this intricate bond gets disturbed, then biodiversity is bound to be affected, and so would be human beings. As I was saying, nature's sounds are also, nature's music is changing. So automatically, we need to stop this change, and we have to bring about stops to this very fact so that human beings do not continue to have the pangs of loneliness. When nature bleeds profusely under certain circumstances because of disequilibrium, one needs to provide it with required support to heal and recover quickly. So one requires to confront the crisis and should not avoid it, should not flee from the situation. Now, this COVID-19 situation, the current pandemic situation, is just an instance of such a disequilibrium generated in the planet because of malfunctioning or different malactivities of human beings. Now, facing COVID needs to be the mantra of the day, with each alphabet of these two words, they can serve as mnemonics. The F stands for focusing on the controllable aspects. We really cannot stop the pandemic, but we can consider those aspects, those features that are controllable, that are within our control, so that we do not get carried away by the negative emotions. A stands for acknowledgement of thoughts and feelings. Once we acknowledge our thoughts, we become mindful of the present, as I was saying, mindful of nature, mindfulness automatically helps a person to be attentive, to learn how to see, learn how to listen. See involves coming back to one's own body. It is looking at life, looking at one's body non-judgmentally, being mindful of bodily changes. Now for this, we can take the help of, we can take our focus of attention onto a word, on a mantra, or a phrase, a prayer, or very commonly, the breath. In fact, breath meditation is regarded as the pranayama. It's a specialized variety of meditation where with each inhalation, each cell is provided with oxygen and the body becomes receptive to the energy in the form of prana. Now, if we have a private, personal space where the body is at peace, with no drastic movements, the body, or the self, I would say, the self gradually will settle down and will free himself or herself from the distractions in the form of different thoughts or feelings that may come up. So breath meditation involves the awareness of one's breath. It helps one to rise above sense of loneliness, frustrations, fears of different kinds, and this can be done by consciously bringing our attention to a few breaths, maybe, because breathing in and breathing out is totally involuntary. So if we put our voluntary control over this breath by becoming aware of the breath for a few moments too in the whole day, I think that would help us to enrich ourselves to become mindfully present. Focusing on one's breath brings about solace of quietude. It brings about inner silence, greater clarity, and self-awareness. It also helps oneself to see the mind world, to be a witness of the different thoughts or emotions or different feelings that tend to distract the mind. And there would be the oneness of the self gradually with the cosmos. So meditation of different kinds helps to serve as a mental spa, which provides relaxation, rejuvenation, and healing by making oneself free of sticky emotional baggages that individuals may carry from the past. So thus, the dire necessity to turn inwards to feel emotionally grounded. As soon as we feel emotionally grounded, we would have a sense of stillness, we would have a sense of tranquility. And this is a picture of a mandala, a galaxy mandala. The center of the mandala is the self. When we meditate, either through the help of our breath or by any other means, we are actually trying to focus onto the inner side, the inner core of ourself. And the different tires in the form of different rings, like the different worlds, these are the different distractions. It can be in the form of feelings, can be in the form of thoughts, or other different distractors that may disturb an individual. But if gradually a person settles down, if gradually a person becomes mindfully present of one's maybe the breath or a phrase or it can be a mantra or whatever, then at the center there's a symbol. This is in Tai Chi. This is referred to as yang and yin. Okay, so negativity. So being aware of negativity helps us to adorn the positivity, and automatically individuals gradually feel more and more grounded. The E stands for engagement with any activity. It relates to being devotedly engaged. It can be in the form of leisure activity, in any kind of relaxation, in any kind of condition is different, is usually not discussed. No work condition is a condition where a person is not doing anything, not doing anything, and is enjoying that condition very meticulously. He is aware that he is not doing anything, but that provides a sense of buffer, or that provides a sense of energy later on to revive, to rejuvenate one's life and our phenomenon, that is the present. So being in the present, mindfulness meditation, or there are other different kinds of meditations also, which helps an individual to be aware of what is present at the moment. And this enables an individual to be aware of different subtleties, like understanding maybe the temperature or the texture of, say, the nostrils, or other sensations when the breath say, circulates along the body, right? So there are different benefits of being in the present, like increasing self-awareness, improves our decision making, increases our empathy, and also brings about better efficiency along with reduced negative emotions. Now, when we become present with nature, when we are mindfully aware with nature, automatically it helps in cleansing oneself. Cleansing oneself, this has been supported by the biopsychophysical model of well-being, and it also helps in relating to forest bathing. This forest bathing is a practice where an individual can make himself stimulated by the different sensations of, say, the wind or the breeze, breeze gushing by, and the breezing and or the sounds of a ring by, or the say the song stimulation that are present in a forest setting. See, as Rupanjali was already saying at the beginning, we need this lockdown and the unlock situation that's brought about changes in our work, in our lifestyles. We have now been more online through different podiums, through different online platforms, like even this podium. So there have been different changes in our lifestyle, which has been brought about by the virus, by the pandemic situation. O stands for opening up. We need to be kind to one's own self. This brings about room for difficult feelings, acknowledging the negative feelings, and once we acknowledge our negative feelings, automatically the negative emotions will mellow away. We also need to be more adaptive in the form of having more and more amount of virtual mobility, right? I'm not saying to be addicted to the mobile or to the internet, but having greater virtual autonomy in a balanced manner. Finally, there would be one also needs to identify resources both at the as well as the interpersonal level. At the intrapersonal level, it can involve hope, inculcating hope, meaning in life and introspection, leisure education, time management and the like, whereas at the interpersonal level, we can also take the help of social support. I would be just touching upon this gratitude a little. Gratitude, if we develop this sense, this is a state of being appreciative of our blessings, of the blessings that has been received by the individuals. There's different components, three main components. Gratitude will help us to provide sanitation at the psychic level. So one needs to be gracious of not only being alive in this situation, to be even gracious, to be able to work, to be able to be active in this condition, in maybe in the work from home setup also. So this gratitude script increases peace of mind, more satisfying personal relationships, and reduces toxic emotions. So if my message would be to the member, and end the day or begin the day with a thankfulness prayer, like, thank you, life, for giving me another day to live. Thank you for giving me work to do. We can even have a kind of prayer like, God, give me the serenity to accept things that I cannot control. Give me the serenity to do things that I can control. Give me the wisdom to see the changes. Thank you.
That was a very illuminating speech. I liked how you pointed out the nature connectedness and how we can use nature to experience positive feelings, and also inculcate a sense of gratitude and be thankful for what we have given the current scenario, because given all of the negativity that's going on in the world, it's very difficult for people to inculcate, to see what they have and to inculcate gratitude. And if we try to do that, maybe we'll be happier in what we have and have a better frame of mind to take on whatever it is that we have to do. So thank you, ma'am, for that wonderful. I'd like to inform all the audience members that we are taking questions in the comment section. So if you have any questions regarding this ma'am's lecture or the following speech, please feel free to send in your questions in the comment section. We'll have a Q&A session at the very end of this webinar. So thank you for those who've already sent in a few responses. We've seen it. Please keep sending in your responses in the comment section. We'll be taking all the questions at the very end during the Q&A session. Now I would like to introduce the second speaker for today's webinar, Ms. Shampa Chowdhury. Ms. Shampa Chowdhury is a counselor and a specialized in clinical psychology with first class and distinction, UGC NET qualified and UGC Senior Research Fellow at the Department of Psychology at the University of Calcutta. She has qualified with grade A at the Family Court Counselor's course from Legal Aid Services, West Bengal. She has served at the Institute of Psychological and Educational Research. She has also served at the Army School at Shukra and Barakpur as a counselor and is presently associated with the Ashok Hall Group of Schools. He is a founder member of Tara and Autism Counseling Association and a founder member of Counsellor Association. He is a passionate theatre person and an ardent blogger. So, ma'am, we welcome you to our session, and we are looking to ma'am for agreeing to be a part of this initiative.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that very warm welcome and for that very, very enlightening. And I just felt that I've gone back to my college days, my university days. So it's thanks to Rotary Club Central. You know, I think you youth are doing such great work. Last year also, I remember having been to your club. I mean, you had made arrangements. I forget the place, but somewhere in central Calcutta. And there were two other speakers. And I remember what a rewarding experience it was. So it was always also very great honor to have been invited once again. So if I've been invited once again, I felt I had made some difference. And I hope I will not bore all of you sitting here, because you must be looking forward. Already, so much has been shared by Dr. Dasgupta, which was so very rooted in daily life, so very rooted in the very depths of our being and the earth. And she has raised so many important concerns that, and I was also going through the questions in the chat box. And it is so very important today for all of us to self-reflect, because I think that is what is missing really. Obviously, there are many of you who are self-reflecting, and that is why you have formed these moods and minds, and you are questioning, and you are we owe you a lot, because what we are going to leave for you, what the kind of lessons that you're going to learn. Now, as a counselor, I have to take a lot of counseling sessions, parent-teacher meetings, and I was talking to parents, I was talking to students, I was talking to teachers. My God, I couldn't believe that actually 4 generations are facing this pandemic. And yesterday also I was taking a class and I was asked, ever think that we would all be in this condition? And all of them said no. Never in our wildest dreams, not even in our nightmares. So, today what we are facing is a reality. Sometimes it seemed actually like a dream. Sometimes to me, I was wondering also that, are we really going through this? Is it really happening? Yes, because we have not been struck by it personally. So, as Manisha ma'am was saying, that it's a gratitude. Every day we pray that and thank the Lord that we are alive. Probably we are alive because all of us have a mission, a very deep mission to fulfill. At this point, I'll just stop and ask, am I audible? Okay. So we all have to question ourselves on that mission. It is very sad because, yes, today also in the newspaper, I was just telling my husband, look, it's crossed 10 lakhs. And I remember when we were at the beginning of the pandemic, I was watching some interviews by virologists and epidemiologists. And they had predicted that at the maximum 60 million people in India can get affected. And that means about half the population. So what are we to do? As the questions were coming, that how do we control the paranoia? What do we do about the paranoia? Or what do we do about the frustration, the anger? Now look, as ma'am correctly said, Dr. Dasgupta correctly said, that we cannot control the things around us. The only thing that we can control is ourselves. So definitely it's a real life challenge. And so long in psychology, we have read about IQ, intelligent quotient. We have read about EQ, emotional quotient. We have read about the spiritual quotient. And now we have come out with a new quotient, which is the adversity quotient. So our generation, and more so your generation, has not really faced a lot of adversities. We may have had faced some relationship problems, some financial problems, some setbacks in results or whatever. Certain things have not gone our way. But all together, we have not faced this situation where we are unable to come out from our houses, especially because ma'am also teaches in a university. I go to a school. And we have not been able to go to our campuses since 24th of March. So it has none of us expected this kind of a situation. We all thought that we'll be getting back after 7 days, 10 days. And then it did not happen. So it did not happen. And then what do we do now? So many doctors, so many scientists are working day and night, racking their brains for a vaccine. We hope it will be out soon. Every day there's some hope. And so the first thing we need to do is we have to keep ourselves safe. So that is very important. We have to keep ourselves healthy and we have to follow basic hygiene measures. Now, we do not only have to keep ourselves safe physically. We have to keep ourselves safe emotionally. We have to keep ourselves safe spiritually, that we do not at this moment, take to distractions or diversions to forget, like some people may easily fall prey to smoking, drinking or drugs. And one may think that, okay, I'm just doing it for a short while, I'm not going to get addicted. But it is very important to try and resist the urge for that, because it might become an habit. So this is also something that we need to guard against. And the adversity quotient. So what is the adversity quotient? That kind of intelligence which gears us up. Like there was this, so we all have to build up our resilience, like real warriors, and with armors of hope and faith and resilience, we are here to fight the pandemic. Because each one of us have to really pray and become strong that we do not become a victim of this pandemic, we do not become a victim of this virus. And even if by some stroke of misfortune one does get affected, then there is also hope, because there are also people getting cured. And one of my own acquaintances in Delhi, he has heart problems, he has diabetes, and he was hospitalized some weeks back, and he was in a very, very bad state. But as nowadays we talk a lot about spiritualism, about the spiritual quotient, about prayers, about the, like we talk about faith moving mountains. So this person is a devout follower of a certain life philosophy. And he has been encouraging a lot of members over his past years. When he fell sick, he was in the hospital and they put the mask over him, the oxygen mask. He said it was so painful that he wanted to just take it out and just rush out. But then the doctors forced it on him again. And he went through plasma therapy treatment, and he was on oxygen. He was not in the ventilator, thankfully. But he thought, at that moment, what did he think? He thought that if I have completed my mission in this life, in this existence, then let me go with a happy frame of mind. And let me say goodbye to my family, to my friends, to my colleagues. But if my mission is not complete, because there's so many people looking up to me, there's so many people waiting for me, then they will have a lot of questions as to why this happened to me when I'm such a devout follower of this life philosophy. Then I must live. I must be given a second life so that I can come back and help all the people to have hope that this is going to end. Nothing stays the same forever. Change is the only constant. So just like this huge unprecedented change, this unprepared for change, this unforeseen change came in our lives, changing our lifestyle, changing everything around us. So it is again with our frame of mind, with our positivity, that we can change things about us, around us, and with hope, because many of you who are students of psychology would have heard about Viktor E. Frankl, who was imprisoned during the Holocaust. So he was a survivor of the Holocaust. He went from one concentration camp to the other. And he said that the one thing that kept him alive was that he wanted to meet his wife again. And he said that it was not so much that the others died because they were starved or anything. No, they became frustrated. They became devoid of hope. They became miserable. And that is why they died. So if you get a chance, and if you've not read, so I would advise all of you to read the book, The Meaning of Life, Man in Search of Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It's available in Amazon. I just got it recently. I haven't read it fully, but I have read about Viktor Frankl many a time. And it was wonderful how he said that it was hope. And he said that why did he have hope? Because he wanted to meet his wife. He wanted to come out from the concentration camp alive, and he wanted to recount tales. I mean, after that, the tales that he recounted were not so much about the misery that he underwent. It was all about that what will he do once he comes out from the concentration camp. So he says a very interesting thing, that somebody who has a why to live for can survive almost anyhow. So even if we are going through very, very difficult times, miserable times, very hard times, challenging times, but if we have a why to our lives, then definitely all of us can sail through this hope. We can challenge this how that we are going through with our hope. So that is very important. And of course, we have seen a lot of COVID deaths. We've seen people getting COVID infected. We've also seen people getting cured. Unfortunately, we've seen suicides. And with the latest that I think upset a lot of youngsters was the suicide of Sushant Singh Rajput. We've also seen a lot of domestic violence, people asking for counsel for domestic violence, because all the time, just looking at each other, being cooped up, as some of you have written, with your own, nobody else but your family members all the time, especially if the couples have not had very good relationships, especially if there has been disturbed family, emotionally disturbed families, then there can be domestic violence. There has been a lot of depression. And we do not blame it, because it's a very, very natural feeling. Depression, but then again, just like depression has a negative side, depression also has a positive side, because you would want to come out from that misery. You would want to come out because you're feeling depressed. You do not want to stay depressed forever. There have been cases of child abuse. We do know that for some time when the lights were going dark, in the initial days of the lockdown and the Janta curfew, and all of us were, coming out onto the balcony to bang on thalis or light candles. So that was the time the psychologists were actually telling the parents that take care of your children, because the lights are going to go dark and you never know what kind of abuse or molestation a child can face in the dark. So these were the things that, these are the very, very pertinent things that are happening around us, things that people do not even talk about. And it's difficult. So that is why at that point, actually in April, we thought of, we already had the School Counsellors Association, which we will going to make it broader and not just name it School Counsellors, but maybe as Counsellors and Psychiatrists Association or Mental Health Professionals Association. But at that point, we felt we wanted to reach out, and we founded Truvtara. Thanks to my colleagues. I think one of them is also here, Ananya Saha, today. She's also a member of the School Counsellors Association and of Truvtara. And at this point, I would really like to thank my ex-colleague, Riya Shaha, who's also from the Department of Applied Psychology. She's a counselor now with Newtown School. And a lot of us who got together and thought that, we must reach out. We must reach out because these are, there is a taboo, sort of a taboo still on seeking aid for mental conditions, which we are unable to handle. So I do have a presentation. If we have time, we will do it. Otherwise, I will just talk about it because I think it's easier. What would you like? If one of you can tell me, would you like to go see a PPT, or would you rather that I talk for another 5 minutes?
I would like to talk.
Okay, all right. Because the PPT is on power of positivity, how powerful a positive mind can be. So you heard about the Holocaust and how just the thought of that I want to see my wife kept Viktor Frankl alive. And that is why are we? What is the meaning? What is the purpose of our life? Why are we living this life? What do I want to do to 1 year hence? Now, people are predicting a lot of things, that the pandemic will continue till 2022. Okay, even if it continues till 2022, it's just a matter of another 1.5 years, perhaps. And hopefully it will not. Hopefully things will be better. So even if it is, in the worst of the circumstances, even if it goes, then what do we do? One thing is we accept reality. Secondly is we hope. Thirdly, we have to have a lot of patience, because that is a thing that we really lack nowadays, and that is something that we have to work upon. We need a lot of courage, because only when we are brave, like, this is a war that has been waged, so we are like warriors in that war, and we have to emerge victorious from that war. So we have to have a lot of courage that I'm going to see myself through from that. Incidentally, my friend, with a lot of courage, he came out from the hospital, and he's just fine. He got a lot of support from his office, from where he's working. He got a lot of support from his wife, and everybody around him, all who knew him, all of them prayed, because there was nothing else that we could do at that moment. The doctors were doing their duty, so we could just pray, because we felt he still has a mission, and he must come out from this virus, from this from his condition of very serious condition, where the doctors were not really sure whether he would live or not. We have to be very, very wise, because we might get very impatient, and we might start doing things which would not be very healthy for us. This pandemic has brought us back to our roots. We are living very simple lives. Again, yes, we've all gone online, because that's the only way to stay in touch. But otherwise, if you see, initially when the lockdown happened, and it was very uncertain that what would the grocery be like? Would there be vegetables? If not, what do we do about it? Then I was thinking, many of you might have watched the movie Gone with the Wind, how, after that, the great civilization that was crumbling, how Scarlett O'Hara, if you get a chance, watch the movie. How Scarlett O'Hara went back to her roots. She started planting again. She was so hungry, and she said, I'm never going to go hungry again, So through adversity, become wise. Through adversity, we really, because, we have a lot of positive cells in our bodies. We have 60 trillion cells. And when we become positive, every cell in our body becomes positive. So with that, when we are wise and we refrain from doing things that might not lead us to the right direction, then definitely it needs a lot of self-control. So we can create, we learn to create. So start doing something new. Well, if your college is closed or your school is closed, we are having online classes. Take up something new. You're unable to meet your friends. You're unable to go out except to buy bare necessities. Now, so we are all going back to a simple life when men would come back home from their farm or their offices, and mothers would be home sitting, knitting, having a warm meal ready, and children would go out and perhaps just play in the field for a while or on the terrace and come back and do their work. So life, in a way, has become simpler, and we are making connections, making bonds with our families that we had earlier never had time to make also, to build also. So that is one positive side about it. So also I would advise you, I would guide you not to be all the time caught up 24/7 with the negative reports or the negative reports that come out in the newspapers or the TV. So of course we have to face facts, but at the same time do not be overly caught up with these thoughts, because the pandemic will take its course. The doctors will do their bit. We cannot do anything about it. The only thing we can do about is ourselves. So the moment you feel you're becoming anxious, you're becoming miserable, then walk away from that situation and start doing something that makes you feel good. So as we face facts, definitely the gratitude factor, like you would be doing social media, so a lot about emotion jar and the gratitude jar and a jar of positivity, all these things are being showcased. So definitely gratitude is very important. The very fact that I'm alive, that you are alive, that we are meeting on this wonderful webinar today and talking to each other, sharing our views. So gratitude is very important. So is determination. So the determination that I'm going to win, no matter what, I'm not going to give up in the face of this pandemic is very important. Also, the apology. Of course, we do not blame you for the situation that we are in today, but apology for what has been happening for so long. Like if I would just, many of you might have heard this poem, which was written by Viviana in Spain. And I will just recite, it's going to take just 1 minute. That the earth whispered, but you did not hear. The earth spoke, but you did not listen. The earth screamed, but you turned her off. And so I was born. I was not born to punish you. I was born to awaken you. The earth cried out for help, massive flooding, but you didn't listen. Burning fires, but you didn't listen. Strong hurricanes, but you didn't listen. Terrifying tornadoes, but you didn't listen. You still don't listen to the earth when ocean animals are dying due to the pollutants in the waters, glaciers melting at an alarming rate, severe drought. You didn't listen to how much negativity the earth is receiving. Non-stop wars, non-stop greed. You just kept going on with your life, no matter how much hate there was, no matter how many killings daily. It was more important to get that latest iPhone than worry about what the earth was trying to tell you. But now I'm here, and I've made the world stop in its tracks. I've made you finally listen. I've made you take refuge. I've made you stop thinking about materialistic things. Now you are like the earth. You're only worried about your survival. How does that feel? I give you fever as the fires burn on earth. I give you respiratory issues as pollution fills the earth's air. I give you weakness as the earth weakens every day. I took away your comforts, your outings, the things you used to forget about the planet and its pain. And I made the world stop. And now, earth has better air quality. Skies are clear blue because factories are not spewing pollution onto the earth's air. The water in Venice is clean, and because the gondola boats that pollute the water are not being used. You are having to take time to reflect on what is important in your life. Again, I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to awaken you. When all this is over and I'm gone, please remember these moments. Listen to the earth. Listen to your soul. Stop polluting the earth. Stop fighting amongst each other. Stop caring about materialistic things. And start loving your neighbors. Start caring about the earth and all its creatures. Start believing in a creator, because next time I may come back even stronger. Signed, coronavirus. So many of these posts are being circulated, but I felt today when a friend sent it to me, I thought, okay, let me share it again, because I had received it earlier, but it just made me aware again. Because human memories are very short-lived, The moment things become comfortable, we forget again. And we go back. We have no time. So self-reflection, prayer, and spirituality, and thinking about the earth. Because you are the future. You are the ones who are going to make a change. It is not the politicians, it's not nobody else, but it is, the power of the common man that is going to bring about change in the earth. So as we remember that change is the only constant, I would say that whether you pray or not, whether you believe in prayer or not, when you get up in the morning and when you go to bed at night, just think of that one thing which makes you feel very good, which makes you feel hopeful, and which makes you feel that, yes, I am alive because I have a mission, a purpose in my life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for those enlightening words. It was really a pleasure to listen to you speak about the current situation, and particularly when you spoke about hope and Viktor Frankl, and as someone who's read Man's Search for Meaning and actually appreciated what Frankl said in that book. Thank you for bringing that up. Hope is really a powerful thing, and this particular situation is making us realize exactly how powerful hope is. And thank you for talking about how to accept reality and being patient and being brave in these difficult times, because these are things that we may know, but we don't acknowledge these very often. And thank you for bringing that up during your speech. And you also spoke of how creatively we can manage this particular situation, and how we can make the best of the adverse circumstances. And there is a popular quote that says, "Adversity is the mother of all invention." And I think this particular COVID-19 pandemic situation is teaching us that, because we've seen a lot of creations during this time. Like, people are making a lot of art, people are trying new dishes, people are writing things like that beautiful poem you shared with us, that really made a difference. These things are going to, in the long run, and even at the particular point of time, these creations and what we make of this time that has been given to us, we should look upon it as a blessing rather than a curse, so that we can make the best of the situation and try to maintain positivity amongst ourselves. So thank you, ma'am, for that lecture. Now, we will now go on to the question and answer. We'll be going on to the questions and answer session from the audience. Firstly, we would like to start. Who says that many of us feel stuck in the situation where we are uncertain of our future and career. This leads to anxiety. How to overcome this stuck feeling? She has also said how to protect ourselves from the negativity of toxic people and their particular thoughts on this pandemic and its effects on our future. If you would like to address that.
Yes. So, yes, Dr. Dasgupta, would you like to address it? I'll go ahead. Well, first and foremost, when you realize that somebody is toxic, you have this is a time when you have to become selfish, because I remember Dr. Dasgupta said that be kind to yourself. So if you have to be kind to yourself, you have to sometimes be unkind to others, especially people who are toxic. So, this is the time which is very important for all of us. So each one of you are valuable, and very precious human beings. So if you feel that there are certain toxicities, so you have to remove it. And what was the other part of the question? Yes, about the uncertainty of the future. So yes, as we know that, everything is delayed, everything has taken a back step. But there is a very famous saying that a lion, before it pounces on a prey, it takes 3 steps forward and 1 step backward. So if this is the step that we've all had to take backward, then that means you're all lions and lionesses. So whenever you're going to get time to pounce on your prey again, whatever it may be, an academic degree, a job, whatever, it's going to become, you're going to unleash all your fury and all your power and all your, determination and all your skills when you pounce on it. So this is the time to do something that you like. It can be, because there are a lot of online degrees and that also free courses that are happening. Really utilize this time to the fullest, doing creative things, whether it's adopting a pet, a plant, or drawing, painting, music, or some more, qualifications online, then it's up to you. You decide what you want to do and go ahead and do it best. Because your heart knows. Dr. Dasgupta, would you also like to elaborate on that? You need to unmute yourself.
You're on mute. Could you please unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to go about answering the first question, which related to the toxicity of people. I recently had an encounter with somebody where she was saying she was constantly worried about the pandemic situation, and that made her so anxious that she was almost spilling the anxiety onto me. And as soon as I realized that was for one day, so the second day, the third day, it went on. He had a habit of ringing me up almost very frequently, and she used to say all these negative information. She used to bombard the conversation with negativity. Now, perhaps she's not toxic, but I would say that the information is toxic. The information is toxic as in she has selected, this concerned individual has selected only the negativities of the current situation and has tried to portray with all those information only where she has ignored, whereby she has ignored the other aspects where people are also becoming bitter and they are trying to convey humanity not to be afraid of. So I think if we can realize that there are toxic individuals or toxic information in the environment, the first guard that we can take is to put a guard to ignore them, firstly. Secondly, not to be perturbed emotionally. And as ma'am was saying, to restrict our input of such information, maybe through media, through different newspapers. We need to be updated, but that doesn't mean to be carried away by the different negativities. This I felt. And as far as the second question is concerned, absolutely, this is a time for reflection. This is a time for not to be upset of the disappointment, the career getting stuck and all such other stuff. Instead, if we can think that this is a time for preparing ourselves in a better manner, so that we would be even if we can inculcate the habit of going through different ebooks or books itself, to be equipped academically or otherwise in any other areas, that would also help the individual to have a smooth flow in his or her career whenever things become better.
Adrita Mitra has said, how to deal with unnecessary anger due to daily life issues during the pandemic situation. And also she said that people are also behaving weirdly towards COVID patient as if it's their crime. Is it due to anxiety or any other psychological issues? Could one of you please address this question?
Should I go ahead? Yeah,
yes, ma'am, but briefly we are running short of time, so please keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to both of you for your answers.
Yeah. discrimination is very much rampant. We need to consider the humanity, we need to have a humane concern regarding the clients instead of discriminating them on the basis of their illness. We need to be cautious and need to adopt different safety measures as far as physical and mental health is concerned. But that doesn't mean discriminating people who are who have succumbed to the illness or who are suffering right now or their caregivers. So I think this is not at all a time for addressing these issues in a manner as people like in the society is addressing this. Instead, if we have like a better like a caregiving stance, and it is like even we fallen prey to the virus. So if we have this feeling, I think that would have a compassionate stance on the part of the individual rather than what is happening in the current scenario.
Thank you, ma'am. There is another question from Akanksha Yadav, who has said, how to deal with past traumas resurfacing during this quarantine period, as we have limited to no option of distractions. Could you please answer this briefly?
Yes. So past traumas can be very, very, threatening and very, very disturbing. So it would, I would definitely say that you go for some counseling. And I think that because you need to get relief from your suffering, you need to get relief from those threatening thoughts and conflicts that have not been resolved. So it's very important for us to try counseling. And I'm sure during the counseling process, you will get a direction as to how you can deal with these feelings that come back again and again to you, because these have not been resolved at some stage. So you need to try and make efforts to resolve it. So I'm sure out here, Rupanjali, this lady who has asked the question, I think a bit of counseling will help out here, because trauma is a very strong word. And if there's trauma, then we need to look into that trauma and see from where does that trauma arise. There must be definitely deep roots in that trauma. And so I would definitely suggest counseling for that, because sometimes we do things to keep ourselves distracted, but the feeling does not really go. We may just be distracted, but the moment we are quiet or we are alone, then all those threatening thoughts and all those painful experiences come back to us. So it's very important to go for a counseling process so that you can work your way towards resolving your conflict and trauma. Thank you. If Dr. Dasgupta has a different point of view, you're most welcome. No? All right.
Thank you, ma'am. Oindrila Basu has said, ma'am, I felt completely felt each word you spoke. While being from forestry can connect, but during my studies, I felt the connection is getting lost. More so in educated mass from forest-dwelling people who are losing connection to the traditional cultural value. As you spoke about acoustics, a friend of mine from current generation students near Forest of Dehradun know and have lesser interest in natural sounds than the previous uneducated generation. How to balance that?
Because of increasing science and technology, we are actually moving away from nature, as I had told in my presentation also. But if we actually train ourselves, if we try to practice ourselves to be mindfully attentive to the sounds of nature or to different visuals of nature, then we would find that there are so many stimulations, there are so many things to enjoy that we really would not have anything left to grumble, right? And And I think instead of going away, getting derooted from nature, these are some practices. If like it can be through breath meditation, it can be through mindfulness practices, it can be through mindfulness practices on a daily practice. Routine practice, which can be inculcated within the individual, whereby a person can nourish his or her stimulation as far as natural surroundings are concerned. Ms. Chowdhury, if you want to say anything else.
No, I think you have summed it up very well. And, that's absolutely the thing, to appreciate what we have. And definitely nature has its own way of balancing out. Student from forestry has rightfully questioned that it is all about balance. So even if a man is so foolish as to not understand, even after this pandemic, then nature will again balance itself. But because you're a young scientist, young students, you're the ones who are going to go ahead with it. Even one person's resolve can change things around us. So the moment you resolve that I'm going to work towards that balance, that is going to change, the entire world's attitude towards what you feel convinced about. Thank you.
Thank you for those replies, ma'am. The next question is from Oimrila De, who has said, how to deal with paranoia that comes with this pandemic, stemming from this paranoia of COVID-19.
Do I go about it? Okay. Paranoia, people are suspicious. People are becoming suspicious of their neighbors, of people in the locality, of being possible careers. Mistrust increase, then it would actually increase, and it would serve as it would bring about distress within the individual. But I would suggest, instead of looking at life through a suspicious angle, if we instead can look at ourselves, what are the things that we can adopt in order to have a safe living, in order to maintain our lifestyle in a safe manner. I think that would, each of us, if we try to maintain our cleanliness, both physically and mentally, right? I think that would help to deal with paranoia, and issues like anger, sadness, they can be tackled individually. Like if one becomes very angry on a neighbor or somebody else who has not followed hygienic practices or any other such practice, I think it is wise to say, to convey the information assertively, rather than providing a temper tantrum. I think temper tantrums would not work in different situations. Instead, if one goes about assertive conviction, that helps. And instead of sadness will decrease the life energy of an individual. So I feel these need to be tackled with more amount of self-control. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll take one last question. Ma'am, somebody has said, Angela Banerjee has said, if something that makes us feel good makes us anxious at the same time, how should one get rid of that kind of anxiousness?
So this is like a approach and avoidance conflict. All right. So if something makes you feel good, also anxious, you have to see anxiety can be of two kinds. It can be positive also. So sometimes when we are anxious, like we have performance anxiety. So or we call, what do we call it, as eustress? Like there's something called distress, distress, and there's also something called eustress, eustress. So if something is making you feel good and at the same time making you feel anxious, then you need to understand why. If it's making you feel good, why? If it's also making you feel anxious, then why? But if you can use that positive, you can use that anxiety to do the thing that makes you feel good, because it must be hopefully something positive. If I'm not talking about drugs or alcohol or cigarettes, then an occasional smoke or an occasional drink, I mean, that's absolutely all right. I'm talking about dependency. So then dependency might make us feel good for some time, doesn't do much good, because we know the famous saying, the drink and then the drink takes the man. So you have to understand and you need to know for yourself that and understand your feelings, that why am I feeling anxious? Once you come to, then you will know whether what you're wanting to do is correct or not. No? So if you have a positive frame of mind that what you want to do, yes, it is creative, it is constructive, it's not going to harm anybody, it's not going to harm your own self, then go ahead and do it. Then probably it's positive anxiety that is goading you on to do it. If, of course, Dr. Dasgupta, if you would like to elaborate. Okay, thank you. So, Rupanjali, have we come to the end of it? Or
Yes, ma'am, we've almost neared the end of this program. I would like to make an announcement regarding something we've got planned and we've got in the works. So basically, keeping in mind the entire scenario of this talk and the current situation, we've been planning this for a while. So we have decided to organize a social support forum named "We Are Listening" to lend a listening ear to those in need. In a world where many feel heard, we want to extend a helping hand to and listen to those in need without judgment and provide support to them. Through this forum, we want to let people know that they are not alone and that they are heard and supported by others. Individuals are encouraged to anonymously share or vent on the forum without fear of being judged. So we'll be organizing training sessions for this, and then eventually we hope to launch this forum in about a month or so's time. So we'd like you to be on board with us for this upcoming project that we have planned. So thank you so much for your time and being with us today and this enlightening session. I would now like to call upon the Vice President of the club, Rotaract Shantani Biswas, to give the vote of thanks.
Hello, am I visible?
Yeah.
Hello, I would like to extended a heartfelt thank you to our esteemed speakers, Dr. Manisha Dasgupta, Shampa Chowdhury, for coming and from their busy schedule